YouTube, how's it going? Captain DirtyBeard here, coming at you again. Part 2 today of the Captain's Quarters with Matthew Grant. We cover a lot in the second part today. We cover THT, his work with Twitch, his work with Ben Ortmans, and the whole 9 yards, and the list goes on, and a few other little tidbits in there that you might be interested in. Won't waste any more of your time. As always, you can find me every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday over on Twitch. Link in the description below. And of course, just like the last video, you can find Matt Grant's link information in the description below. And yeah, without further ado, we'll just get right to the interview. Hope everyone's staying happy, staying healthy, and we will see you in the next one.
There is definitely some people in mind. I think, and you kind of ran into it with like the roster with PWO, like with the pandemic, there's been some halts in a lot of what we've had planned as a faction. Like, fuck, we wanted to do some traveling. Like, we wanted to go to the States. We wanted to really break out, and like,
definitely,
there's a lot of wrestling, or there was, I should say, a lot of wrestling prior to the pandemic, and we wanted to be a part of as much of that as possible. Now it's going to be very interesting to see how a lot of these companies recover from the pandemic in Ontario in specific.
Definitely. I
know there's companies running, closed tapings, whether it's, through Rip's Gym, or I've seen a bit through Battle Arts. Others shit too as well. Like, we've done the Compound Showdown.
I think like Superkick does some tapings and stuff.
There you go. Yeah, they have stuff on their YouTube every week as well. So it's like there's places doing content still, but there's no actual legitimate shows going on. There was a couple that ran during the pandemic. Shout out to like places like MSW, and I genuinely can't remember who else ran, but Alpha One did a couple of shows as well.
Yeah, like they hit up the outside show in Oshawa.
Like, so like there's been a couple of shows, but I'm talking in terms of like, you look at the Germania Club. Are we ever going to see that looking the way it was prior to the pandemic ever again? I don't know.
It's like, honestly, that's the tough part. It's like, who's going to weather the storm? And not even that, out of the venues too, right? Because it's like, are half these businesses or buildings or rental halls or bars or whatever, are they going to survive?
Yeah. And that's exactly kind of what I've been like really processing. And I think that's what brought me to Twitch, honestly, and doing a lot of this stuff is like starting to really connect with people more, just in case, like, say, I can't do this at the merch table and fucking interact with people the way we used to, or like, I can't fucking slap hands and talk shit on the way to the ring the way I used to because of the way the pandemic works. Like there's all these different factors that, fuck, I think of something small like spitting in somebody's face for heat, and like, motherfucker, that ain't happening anymore.
Right. Well, even to like take that turn too, like spitting is like on that low end of the spectrum, and that's like a no. So it's like, what do you like when it comes to like different things, when like we talked about earlier with like the hardcore spots or the barbed wire or anything that's involved blood in public with like 100 people there, like that can't fly. Like, obviously, if there's an accident, you get busted open the hard way, the ref's going to have, you know what I mean? Like, you're going to have to but you're going to have a lot more stuff on hand, which everybody should really have in the first place. Like, every show that we've run, we have we have our cleaners, we have our gloves, like the whole 9 yards for those spills or anything that accidentally happens. But yeah, like, it's something that's going to have to not happen on purpose for a long time.
Yeah. Like
at this level, right? Because it's not
that's
like
exactly
this,
it.
You're not AEW, you're not WWE, you don't have a barricade, and you're not pushed back in cages and behind plexiglass. Like, you're in a small room, so you can't do that stuff.
There's only so much of a budget. And like, I had this conversation with my fiance of like, I don't know how many companies are going to be able to make it, just because of like a lot of these promotions are relying on, the ticket money and the IWTV money and all this stuff that adds up, where a lot of that revenue has been taken away because of the pandemic. So
absolutely,
I've been preparing myself already. Like, my shoot job now, I'm working in the cannabis industry, and like the booming industry right now. I'm doing this Twitch stuff. Like, I'm really trying to set myself up just in case for some reason the way pro wrestling was before doesn't come back.
Oh, I was going to say, I feel like with the passion of the fans, like there'll still be that boom, but there won't be as many promotions.
And that's exactly it. Like before the pandemic happened, dude, there was upwards of 50 promotions in Ontario. Easy.
Also, too, to step on that thing too, there's also even if we get wrestling back, just say by the summertime, the border's still closed. So there's no US talent coming in. There's nothing like that. So
there's no draws. There's no
the quote unquote, thank you did the air quotes. Yeah, the quote unquote draws, because like honestly, like to even touch on that, it's like sure, yeah, they're draws, they make money, they're gonna put some asses in some seats, but it's like we made like decent money and we've kept this company going off of like, I think the biggest name we've ever had was Josh Alexander, and that was one show.
Yep. Yeah. I don't think you need that, but I think in the same sense with, again, as it relates to like ticket pricing and, venue renting and all the fucking logistics that go into a show, I think a lot of the promotions aren't going to be able to handle that anymore. That's a lot of work's going to be lost for a lot of the guys here, which means a lot less spots on shows.
Yeah. Which is good for the guys that are also like continuing to put in the work through here, connect with their fan bases. People want to see them also continuing up with training when they can and when it's safe. And of course, hitting the gym, staying in shape. Like the people that are taking advantage of the extra time that they have and not letting it go to waste, essentially, like they'll be good, I think, on the back end of everything.
Yeah, and this is something that like I've genuinely like been processing for a while and thinking about, because like it's a reality that we're gonna have to deal with. Like you look at, all these crazy $1 million, $1 billion corporations and fucking sports leagues that have had to shut down and do all this different stuff now too. Like WWE has a bunch of giant video screens around the freaking arenas because they can't have fans there.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. That's for sure.
It's going to be interesting. I welcome it because I think like indie wrestling will survive at the end of the day. It's just going to be very interesting how the adaptation happens.
Yeah. I feel like luckily now with like a lot of the handle on this live stream stuff and the equipment and doing all this, maybe like possibly running like an outside show, selling limited seats, and then putting on also like an iPay-per-view at the same time and broadcasting it, especially in the first while, might help out a lot of promotions, like keep a footing, because sure, you have limited fans coming in, but then you can also broadcast and make a couple extra bucks off of your
that's the shitty thing about winter and living in Canada is these months that we've been going through right now. Obviously, there's nobody running outdoor shows because there's 2 feet of snow on the ground. So once we're getting into the warmer weather, which we're seemingly heading towards sooner rather than later, hopefully, maybe we'll see some of those shows start to pop up.
Yeah, hopefully by like summertime, May, June.
On that note, I think, if I'm not mistaken, NSW announced the show for the end of March.
For the end of March, yeah. I think that also might be a tentative date, given like obviously it's all in flux, right? Like I feel like they're definitely aiming for that, but it's see how the next few weeks go.
Of course, like numbers, all that bullshit, logistics.
Yeah. Yeah, so we've covered a lot so far. We've covered, you working with Justin Sane, working with Shaw, and a lot of stuff in the early part of your career, and then transitioning to crossbody, working a lot with Ben. So do you mind telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah,
and
man.
How that's like impacted your career, the extra knowledge he's added on post, all that.
It's been a lot. So I started there day one with crossbody refereeing, and like I was very, very happy with the role I was getting there. Like I was sharing the ref duties with Jimmy, and if you don't know Jimmy, he's the fucking man. He's one of the best referees on the scene. Yes. If you're not booking him, you're fucking up. But anyways, me and him were sharing duties. I was getting some fucking solid matches, working with some solid dudes. The crowds were starting to go up. Like everything was looking great with crossbody. And then I was kind of like getting to a point where my transition to my pro wrestling side of things, like actually become a performer, where I was like, fuck, like maybe I should start to do it here. So I kind of gave him that heads up. I think it was in the around October or something. And he's like, all right, like you'll do one more show and then like we'll phase you out for a bit. And like he kind of made it seem like there wasn't going to be something for me for a little bit. And like, I was like totally okay. Like, you know, you have your storylines booked, you have your shit put together. I get it. Like, I'm totally cool with sitting around for a little bit and waiting for my opportunity. So I did the November show. I believe Rich Swann was on that show. So like, I think my last match that I refed was Swann versus Josh Alexander for Crossbody, which is really fucking cool. And then it was on to the December show. And so I make the graphics as well for Crossbody, in case you didn't know. And so I find out, obviously, all the shit that's going on for the shows, because obviously I need to make the graphics for them. So he sends me the match list, and I kind of am going through it. And I kind of stopped, and I was like, whoa, wait a minute. And kind of more context here is like, not only was I transitioning into becoming a performer as well as my brother was. We were doing the whole Empire thing. Like, again, like I mentioned before, we were trying to break out. So I had pitched him as well. And I was like, yeah, if you have something, great. If not, then like, you know, shit happens essentially. Mm-hmm. And so I'm looking at the match card for this December show, and lo and behold, Swole Patrol versus Empire pre-show match. And I was like, oh, that's fucking cool. Like, awesome. We're on the show in some form or fashion. So the show's getting closer and closer. And I don't know what exactly happened, if there was a mishap with scheduling or something happened where a match dropped off the show.
Okay.
So we ended up getting bumped up to the main card. Oh. And I was like, oh, fucking sick. Like, awesome. So we had that first match, and fun story about that first match. I love those guys, man. We've done a lot of interesting stuff with them in pro wrestling, from wrestling on a beach during a fucking storm to wrestling a billion times at Crossbody. That we've done a ton of stuff with those guys, and I love those guys very much. The very first time we wrestled them, I gave Moose Rodrigo Montana, whatever he was going by at the time, I'm not too sure what it was, but I gave him a blockbuster, and we had a bit of a miscommunication. Regardless, he ended up crushing me and giving me a concussion.
Oh, jeez.
So, and if you know how big he is, you know me, that's a fucking big dude landing on me. I've watched the footage back. It's rough. So the finish to that match ended up getting really fucked up. Like, I watched that back, and it frustrates me so much, because so essentially the spot was supposed to be, I was behind Atlantis, like on my hands and knees. JT Kirk was supposed to drop kick him over. I was supposed to be there. He was supposed to fall over me, and I think we were supposed to hop on the pin together. But because I was fucking KO'd, I was nowhere to be found for the spot. So JT Kirk just gives Atlantis this drop kick and just pins him off of it. And like, thankfully the crowd like legitimately popped for it. Like, they were like, awesome, these guys won. But like, for me, I was like, going into the back, I was like, fuck, did we just like blow this entire fucking spot? And it was because I'm a dumbass and got concussed. And so we get to the back, like, obviously it wasn't the fucking main event, fucking 5-star match, but Ben was happy with the job that got done out of it.
That's good.
So I was like, okay, cool. Found out we were moving on to a program with the Dirty Vets for this Crossbody tag team titles. So we had to film a promo that same night. If you watch this promo back, I look done. I am concussed. I am just like out of it.
Just
and
ghosted.
Yeah, so if you know me as well, you know me as like the fucking ultimate shit talker. Tid is just shitting all over me, like ripping me a new one, and I'm just staring at him like,
just
out of it, man. Fucking out of it. So we go into the program with the Dirty Vets, and I gotta say, man, between them and Ben, holy fuck, the growth we've been able to establish through Crossbody. Like, we had a 10-month program with them, and it resulted in us becoming tag team champions. And like, the first match So we kind of went into the first match, and there was a false finish where we won the belts. The match or the decision got overturned. So we're going into the second match with the mentality of like, oh, we're definitely getting the belts. Like, there's no fucking question. Like, they wouldn't have teased that for no reason. We get there, and we find out we're getting tased for the finish, and we're losing. So for one, a legitimate taser, like if you held the end of that thing, you were getting fucking tased.
Yeah.
There was a fucking rubber protector on the end of it. So if you touch anywhere but the end of it, it was a legitimate taser.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's public information or not, but whoops. So that happens. We get that whole spot gone through. And the match we just watched back on the Best of Empire live stream was the triple threat tag with Ben Ortman, Tyler Thomas, and Space Pirates. That match pops up on my birthday, and I was like, oh, fucking cool. Led into a little bit more stuff. We did some stuff with Death Squad, Jake Jones and Dylan Daniels in Crossbody. Had a couple of spots, a couple of matches with them, which were a lot of fun. And then it led to a third match with the Dirty Vets, and we were like, we gotta be getting the titles here. And so there was another screwy finish where it was something with Hamill, and like I can't remember exactly what it was, but like screw job finish. There was those cool Taco Fest shows. There was another show in between, and then we led to the big anniversary show where we won the belts. And like I look back on the story and like how much build up there was to that, and like there was so much advice being given to us, like just little things after all the matches we were having to like we were doing the showcase series shows as well, which were bi-weekly shows, getting to mix it up with different talents from like not only Ontario but some of the US guys were traveling up for that, and that's where we got to mix it up with guys like Jackson Stone, Blake 182, and all those guys were coming up. So like Crossbody has meant a lot to myself.
That's something I'll always give to Ben. Ben, because being so close to that, especially that Michigan border too, being like that extra mile that way. He like the resources you have with like people being able to drive up, not just from like just say like upstate New York, which like a lot of the Hamilton, lower GTA, Niagara kind of promotions where like a lot of them will pick from. Ben has the opportunity to pull in a lot of the other guys from another side and have like a fresh roster and give you guys a lot of chances to work with fresh faces.
Yeah, I remember the first time Jackson Stone came up, like I was like, holy shit, like this dude looks like $1 million, and fucking 6 months later he won Impact Wrestling gut check, and he's fucking on the roster now. So like
it's crazy.
You know, like it's wild the opportunities we've been afforded in quite a few promotions like Crossbody, PWO, like it's kind of like really brought in, and again like the confidence and the structure of Empire really together over the past couple of years. So like shout out to you guys, shout out to fucking Crossbody, shout out to promotions like NSW for giving us those big matches early on with like Locked and Loaded and the Gym Rats. Like those were some big time fucking matches. Fight or Flight, all these matches we were having, super new as a tag team, but it gave us those opportunities to grow, get advice from these guys that were a lot better than us.
Absolutely. It definitely like that, like getting in the work with the people that are like above that entry level that you're at is just so good for one, like being that early on in your career.
And then like I kind of look at a place like HPW where, in case you didn't know, we're the longest reigning tag team champions of all time, but we've had the opportunities to work with like some newer talents there as well. Like we're kind of like, and this is so fucking weird to say, but like the veterans of that locker room.
That makes sense in a way.
That's the strangest fucking thing to say, because I would never, ever, ever, ever look at myself like that. But like, essentially what it is, like you have the older crop of HPW guys, and then you have a lot of the newer crop, the guys like Millennium Falcon and Van Landen and all these guys that are popping up now, Johnny D's, you know, like it's very cool to be able to like almost play the same role that a lot of those guys were playing for us now with the HPW shows, like being able to work with Gato Rojo and Gunnar Lang at a show.
Yeah.
And like we had the most ridiculous tag match, but like we were able to learn from it as well as give those guys a couple of tips from what we know as a tag team. And that's not a lot, but it's like, hey, if we're able to pass on any knowledge, then fuck, that's awesome.
No, absolutely.
And I live for that shit too, man. Like I love seeing people succeed. I love seeing newer talent get opportunities. Like I'm not one of those guys where I'm like fucking bitter and angry. One like instance in particular, and like it pops into mind is when Wade won the internet championship. Literally, as soon as we got finished taping that, I went up and gave that dude a hug, and I was like, dude, you have worked your fucking ass off. You deserve this opportunity. Like, it is insane to see dudes like him. And, you know, I can fucking name so many people that have put in that work, that have earned the opportunities like that.
Absolutely. Like Wade definitely like that just kind of happened like organically and naturally too. Just like through the promos and the views, and like those things were getting like, I think like 300-400 views each. It was just blowing up, and it was like, oh, we got to put them in the ring together. No,
it's something that like, it was a hot thing. So like, there was no question to pull the trigger on it. And it was like, when it happened, it was like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, hell yeah. Like, seeing somebody like Mike Forte win the HPW championship when that went down. I think we had to leave for another show, but like seeing the reaction of that was fucking awesome. I love seeing that stuff, man. Seeing Josh Alexander sign his Impact Wrestling contract fucking 3 years ago today or whatever it was at this point.
Yeah,
like
that's crazy.
Again, all this stuff, man. It's just like, I love seeing people succeed. Honestly, I love seeing people succeed more than I love succeeding myself. And that's a shoot.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat myself, where it's like I don't want to toot my own horn a little bit here, but it's like I feel like as much as I offer to like my own plate, I also offer out as much as I can.
Well, I think, and this is kind of divulging a little bit behind PWO, when the internet title was originally pitched for Empire, I believe it was pitched to go to me. And I was like, no, like, I think JT Kirk should get like something at least. Like, I want to see him.
I don't even remember, to be honest.
If I'm not mistaken, the original idea was possibly me. And I was like, I kind of pushed for JT Kirk. Cause like, again, that's one of those things where like with the Youngblood title, I gave him that opportunity. And like, I want to see people succeed. I want to see people grow, and like anything I can do to help, fuck it, I'm going to do.
Absolutely. Well, okay. Well, speaking of that, speaking of people succeeding, one guy and one girl to keep an eye on this year. Someone that's kind of on the right trajectory, given the circumstances. But
are you talking local or just altogether?
Local.
So local, somebody I've had my eyes on in terms of a male talent for a very fucking long time, and I've tweeted, I've said I want to wrestle him multiple times. Clay Wilson. I think that dude is money. I think me and him are very similar in our styles, but he is so much better of a technical wrestler than I am. He's put in that work. He's somebody who's traveling, going to BC, branching out as much as he possibly can. He's always at shows, showing face, putting in that work. He's somebody I've been keeping my eyes on for a very long time, and I have, again, tweeted it. I have posted it as Facebook statuses. I want to wrestle Clay Wilson. Keep your eyes on that motherfucker. In terms of female, I got to be biased here, man. Crystal Moon. I think when you look at somebody who has grown as much as she has over the past couple of years, like I remember looking back on when she first started wrestling, and like she was kind of very similar, I feel, to like Alexia Nicole when she first started off, where like she was very timid, very she wasn't open yet, if that makes sense.
No, like I can see where you're going with that.
I don't know exactly the verbiage to use, but like she hadn't, her personality hadn't been opened to professional wrestling yet, I think is the way I'm trying to say. And like, so she, between like the growth she's done in that aspect, and then like, dude, like the work she's put in on the professional wrestling side of things, she's had some killer fucking matches, not just in crossbody, but man, Impact Wrestling, she worked Jessica Havoc for fuck's sakes.
Absolutely. She's like, she's one of the girls too, one of the young girls that's putting in a lot of work. She's listening to the right people. She wants to grow. Absolutely. And it shows.
Yeah, she's somebody that even before Empire, I'd always like kept my eyes on her because I thought she's fucking fantastic. And she has grown, man, so fucking much. and I am super proud of like not only the human being she's become, but like the fucking performer she's become. She is going to be a star. I will be very surprised if she does not get picked up. If she wants to be on TV, she will be on TV. I guarantee that.
Oh, strong words from Matt Grant, and hey, I can't disagree with them.
Yeah, Clay, Crystal Moon, keep your eyes on those two.
Absolutely. So I guess we've hit that point of the day where we're getting close to the end of the questions and end of the segments. We've pretty much covered a lot of mostly everything. I guess we'll just quickly, before we hop through, Twitch and THT. That's kind of something that like you guys started up like with like the streaming a little bit earlier with like the Empire. You guys were doing a little bit of like the brand warfare, a lot of like the SmackDown versus Raw stuff. And then it kind of started to grow with the Twitch. And then now you got THT going on with the other guys. And
so it kind of blew up really quickly. So when we were doing the YouTube stuff, like it was like kind of a hobby. It was just to kill time. And like Twitch is kind of a hobby too, but in the same sense, like when you look at the amount of upgrades I've put in, and like had sponsorship help putting in that help as well, or putting in that upgrade work as well. Like it's gotten to a point where I have a schedule. I have consistent streams because like it's almost become part of my routine at this point. With the brand warfare stuff, when it first started off on YouTube, with YouTube, it's kind of a different platform than Twitch. Like I don't think it's really designed for live content.
Fair.
All that much, like in the way of gaming and the stuff that again you find on Twitch. With YouTube, it's very different.
I could argue a little bit on that, but I'll let you continue.
At least that's what I was finding in terms of like what our views were, because like I was putting up different stuff too, and like I was seeing a lot more views towards that stuff than I was like the brand warfare stuff. So like,
that's fair.
But between that and like at the time, I was running 8 gigs of RAM, so like fucking rendering these and like putting all that together took hours upon hours.
Oh yes.
So I got to a point where it's just like, all right, whatever, fuck it. We kind of took a break from it for a little while, and then the Twitch stuff ended up coming together, and I think it kind of started off of like, let's get together once a week because we haven't seen each other in fucking God knows how long and play some video games.
Yeah.
And like Basil, myself, BMD, JT Kirk, it kind of started off with like us, and then we've like just expanded to this like we have like over I think 20 people in our Among Us group where it's like a rotating roster of who the fuck's going to show up this week.
Yeah.
And speaking of, Puff's going to be on this week's edition of Among Us, so that's going to be a lot of
That's who is this week. I was having trouble remembering, and that was great too because I was literally because we did Greed's watch along for Elimination Chamber, and then when it's done, like the 4 of us are just chatting in the live chat after he's off live and everybody's gone to sleep and Kingdom's gone and Yates is gone, and then Albright's like, I'm going to get on Puff stream and I'm going to get us all on Puff stream. I'm like, okay, go for it. And it's like 1 a.m. and we're just randomly on Puff stream. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself. I was not expecting this today.
But the whole Twitch THT thing. So I think the way it was kind of like said to me, at least, was like Brady and Ben are like 2 of my best friends. Like we interact outside of wrestling quite a bit. Like we're just that's what it is. Yeah. So they saw I was kind of doing the Twitch thing, and I think it was one of those things where we're like, why don't we, like, we're all friends, let's all fucking collaborate and fucking put something together. And I was like, cool. Like, it wasn't even supposed to be a podcast at first. It was honestly just kind of like, fuck, we're like a Twitch streaming team essentially.
Yeah.
So we kind of did that. It was very, very low key at first. Like, we were just like, cool, THT, woohoo. And then I think it was like randomly one day in the group chat where it was like, hey, let's do a podcast. We all fucking buy toys. We all fucking shoot the shit anyways. Like, it gives us a reason to hang out essentially on a Saturday night and fucking people can watch it. Whatever. Like, cool. So we started really like hammering the podcast. Like, we've had like Albright, Pretty Ricky. In fact, this week, formerly known as Kazarni.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
Sin's gonna be on the podcast, so that's gonna be pretty fucking sweet. Like there's a lot of cool shit we've done with the podcast, and then like with the team itself. We've had connections with Aiden Prince, and we've had connections with guys like Puff and BMD and other people as well with the THT platform. So it's been really cool to kind of branch out and be able to connect to some of those guys, because let's be fucking real, a lot of those guys have bigger followings than us. So the fact that they're willing to help us out, like BMD rated me with fucking a bunch of people last night, and it's like something as small as that goes a long fucking way, man. And I'm very thankful for anything, like anytime that happens, it means the world. And it's the fact that those guys have connected with us again through the THG platform. So we've really started consistently pushing that. It was really like a cannabis related sponsorship kind of deal at first. Like we were really pushing that, but then we were kind of like, if we're really going to market this, like we got to be smart. And we had like an inside joke when we were playing UFC where like we would fucking shake hands. So we called ourselves the handshaking team. It literally like went with the initials that we already had. So we were like, fuck it. Like we'll just transition to that and kind of keep it a little more centric instead of kind of divulging into that one audience.
I definitely think that's a better idea.
And the plan is, and I'm not going to really divulge into too much of it because it's not my baby to say so, but I know there's going to be more members added. I know that's a big part of Brady's building, is like he wants to have a consistent, say 12 hours a day where THT is being represented on Twitch. So like it's something where the brand is growing. And I know like if you're somebody that's consistent on Twitch, is legitimately looking for somebody to help you out a little bit, he's somebody that's willing to take you on. So he's a great dude. He has done, I genuinely can't express how much he's done for me between wrestling, between outside of wrestling. He hooked me up with one of my best jobs ever. He actually got me into the cannabis industry to start. And that's where I back him now. So it's like between Ben and Brady, like I love those dudes, and the fact that we get to kind of interact as a team and do it together is a lot of fun.
It all just kind of comes full circle at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking crazy going from seeing those guys on a Power Slam Wrestling Elite show back in Barrie in 2014 and being intimidated as fuck by these guys to here we are 7-8 years later and we're all working together and fucking the best of friends. It's crazy how things work out sometimes.
We've hit the point in the show where I'll turn it over to you. Anything you want to plug, anything you want to get off your chest, you got your camera there, and have fun, my friend. What do you got going on?
Yeah, so you see the logo behind me. Everything Empire related, you can find EmpireTagTeam.ca. You see it on the bottom of the screen. Thank you for the plug for that. Patreon.com as well. We're doing some cool shit with that. A lot of our Twitch replays, all that stuff is going to be posted on there. So if you want to check that out, patreon.com/EmpireTagTeam. Tiers as low as $1. I'll let you find all that bullshit on there if you're interested. Just keep checking out the Twitches, man. Like a lot of cool guys are on Twitch. A lot of the Ontario scene is checking out the Twitch as well. And like I'm somebody, again, like you heard me talk about earlier in the interview, it's like I want to see other people succeed here on Twitch as well. So follow Savage, check him out on all these Twitch different platforms. He's doing the DirtyBeard stuff now, so it's awesome to see him branching out. It's awesome to see guys like John Greed and Mark Wheeler and BMD, like all these guys branching out and doing the fucking Twitch thing very well as well. So honestly, like I could plug my stuff all day, but I just say support everybody and fucking treat people the way you want to be treated. That's it.
Yeah. Couldn't have said it any better myself. And of course, tomorrow night, Thursday, 9 o'clock.
Yes, Among Us, baby. Puff's going to be joining us. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it. The crew's going to be there. Come watch us fucking get mad at each other over some stupid fucking game.
And watch me impersonate Matt Spain. If he starts third impostering, I'm going to third imposter back in his voice.
God, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, but anyway, we've reached that point in the night. My apologies to Marcus Gold. We've run out of time, and we will catch you in the next one.
Peace out, guys.